We're live. Awesome.
Hey!
Well, thank you for being here today with us, Katie. For everyone tuning in, I'm joined here today with my friend Katy from the Squirm-Free Sales Master Program. She is a copywriting and sales expert, and she will be sharing all of her insight with us today. So feel free to drop your comments in the box below. I'll be reading them out to her. But Katy, I'd love for you to start off with a bit of an introduction to what you do, how you got started, and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, sure thing. I'm so excited to be having this chat with you today, Christina. It's going to be super fun. And as you said, I am a copywriting and sales nerd. When we first met, I was just starting out as a freelance copywriter and getting my first few gigs. That was a couple of years ago. Since then, my business has kind of evolved or pivoted, maybe you might say, into the world of copywriting and sales coaching. So now I work with service-based entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, and lots of folks in creative services like I used to be. And I help them learn to sell their services without feeling like icky and weird and gross and awkward about it.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And before we got on the live, we were actually talking about how we first met, and we only met 2 years ago. So it's crazy to have seen Katy literally started out in Toronto with zero connections, just came there, was networking like crazy. I saw her at every event because I was doing the same, and her network grew and grew. And now she has an entire program, she has an entire team. So I knew I had to bring her on because who better to chat sales than Katy? So I want you to
Yay!
I want you to first go into the whole idea of Squirm-Free Sales Masters and kind of what the mission is around that for anyone who maybe hasn't heard about it before. I'd love to kind of cover that first.
Yeah, 100%. So, as we've chatted about, like, what I've offered has kind of evolved over time, but really kind of what the common thread has been, and this goes for when I was doing freelance copywriting as well, is that I noticed that when I would write like a sales campaign, or would write email copy or website copy that was designed to either close leads or close sales for people, the business owners who I was writing that copy for, they sometimes felt uncomfortable at the thought of sending it to their list, right? And without really realizing what I was doing at the time, I ended up kind of helping people feel just more confident in what it meant to sell. I think the problem is that so many of us have this internalized picture of what a salesperson is, does, looks like, acts like, talks like, and it's pretty negative. We all think of that greasy secondhand car salesperson on the forecourt trying to kind of dupe you into paying over the odds for a car which has got an engine full of sawdust. Yeah, we have like Matilda Wormwood's dad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are so many like negative pictures of what it means to sell. And when, we've grown up with those pictures, and we've internalized it, sleazy salesman, slimy salesman, these are all kind of common pieces of language we have. However, when we transition into entrepreneurship, if we're not making sales, or we're not comfortable with making sales, that is a problem. Okay, because literally the point of running a business is to make money, is to make sales. That's what sets it apart from having a hobby. Okay. And it honestly, it breaks my heart, Christina, to see service providers, whether they are copywriters, web designers, graphic designers, social media managers, event professionals like yourself, whether they're coaches or they're creating these amazing courses. It breaks my heart when people are so fantastic at the service that they provide for people. However, because they have this negative connotation of what it means to sell, they are not making the impact that they could be.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I see so many talented people in design and art, in photography, all these different industries. And I'm like, why don't you have more followers, or why are you in the dark about what you're doing? Just show up online. It's not that hard, but it is really hard when you're starting out, and there's a lot of fear about being judged by other people. And yeah, like for myself, I do have a sales background working with other companies, so I feel really comfortable selling their stuff. But sometimes when it comes to my own products and services, I look and I'm like, I feel really awkward about this. I don't know.
That's a huge part of it, right? Is there's a big difference, and actually quite a few of the people who I work with are folks who are ex-corporate and who have stepped into this world of entrepreneurship, and they're like, damn, this feels different. And there is definitely a distinct difference between raving about someone else's product or service or software or whatever, and then putting yourself out there on the line and being like, hey, value me. That is, it brings up a lot. It brings up a lot of self-worth issues. It brings up, money mindset, maybe habits that you picked up from your parents or in the environment that you grew up in. And part of what we do inside Squirm-Free Sales Masters, and this is my signature group coaching program for folks who want to leave all of that stuff behind and actually master the art of selling so that they can create that impact with their services in the world. It like what we actually do is, yes, we upskill people so that they know how to run a sales call, so that they can, pitch confidently and close a room or a webinar or what have you. But we also work on the mindset that it takes to be able to put yourself out there and face rejection square in the face, because that's ultimately what we're afraid of, right? That
Yeah.
someone's going to tell us no.
Yes. And it's really cool that you said that, because I've been speaking about this a lot. When I was running the magazine, my whole identity was the magazine. So when it was failing, I looked at myself and I said, wow, you're a complete failure. But it didn't have to do with my self-worth. I just didn't take the right steps to make it a successful business. And I really like that you said that, the self-worth and associating that. Because when I'm doing sales for someone else, I don't see it that way. I'm like, okay, well, their product sucks, or I just didn't communicate it correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I love that you shared that, because I think it's something that can be really difficult to say out loud. And, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we're, especially at the moment, actually running our businesses, we spend a lot of time alone in front of our screen with access to the internet. And when you're scrolling through on this guy and you're going, oh, they've had a 10K month, they've just closed that amazing client that I recognize, they were in this online feature, they just got invited to speak to these people. And we see people's highlight reels, and if our results are not matching up to that, then it does just kind of keep us stuck in a cycle of, oh, well, I'm not good enough, so therefore I can't put my rates up, or therefore I should give my services for free, or I should grant a discount, and it keeps people stuck. And so what I just love about the Squirm-Free Sales Container is that we help people to just leave all of those cycles behind and start fresh with a new skill set, and with a new mindset, and also a community who is doing the same scary up-leveling stuff at the same time.
Yeah, that's really important. I got a comment here from Rebecca. She says, same. I can sell other people's things, no problem. Mine, dot, dot, dot. Yeah. Yeah, I've been there many times. My next question for you is in the concept, sorry, of that squirm-free type of sales. So why do you think that sales is squirmy for so many of us, and how can we work on feeling confident in our sales strategy?
Yeah, 100%. And, I think so much of why we do feel squirmy is, as I was saying, we do have this picture of Matilda Wormwood's dad and all of those icky cliches that we associate with selling. And, perhaps we even have personal experiences where we felt uncomfortable with the way that someone was approaching us. I know that I've definitely been in the position personally before where I found myself being sold to when I didn't want to be sold to.
Yes.
And, the idea that people don't like to be sold to is actually a load of rubbish. It's not true. If I think about this, think about you're in an amazing restaurant, okay? And I know that seems like a long way off right now.
Yeah.
But imagine you're on holiday in Italy, and you're in an amazing restaurant, like family run restaurant, and you look at the menu and you're going, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to order. And so the maitre d' comes over and he's going, oh, you know, what would you like? What would you like? And you're like, oh, I'm not sure what's good. And then he starts taking you through the menu, starts telling you about the specials, starts making a recommendation, then starts recommending like, oh, and here's the wine that you should have with this, and you should get a side of this. Like when it is done well, and when it is done consensually, and we'll talk about that in a second, being sold to is a lovely experience. It's service when it's at its best.
That's so true.
And like this piece about consent, you know, asking, oh, what should I have, or what do you recommend? This is very often the missing ingredient from the way that I see entrepreneurs attempting to sell their services. They think that they have to push what they have onto others. And in fact, what I teach my clients is how to ask for consent and ask for permission in every single step of their sales process, so that you are only ever talking about what you've got to people who want to listen, who are like,
Right?
yes, I want to know more.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And I love that you brought that up, because literally this morning I was on LinkedIn and I've been getting these copy paste type messages from the same agency for weeks. Yeah, it was kind of like how to get 30 to 50 more leads per day or something. And I was like, I literally have been getting this message every day from different people. So I was like, here's a tip: change your messaging if you're messaging the same person.
Yeah, or maybe just don't send copy
Don't
and
send
paste messages at all.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I was like, I just can't stand those like template type. Because like when I have my own calls, right, I do have a template structure, but I make it very personal to the person and their events and what's going on with them. Otherwise, why would they want to listen to, you know, a free flow of everything else?
100%, but they're like, Christina, there's such a difference between a structure and like a
Yeah.
copy and paste, right? A
Yeah.
structure is really good. Like, you know, if you think about I don't know why I'm thinking of like little kids, like toddlers. They always say like children need structure so that they can enjoy themselves. They need to know what the rules are so that they can, you know when they're going to get told off, when it's safe to play, etc., etc. And, you know, the same is true for when we are having conversations with prospects who we would like to become clients. We need to have that structure so that A, like we don't miss anything, right? And B, so that they know exactly where they stand throughout that whole process. And having a structure is great. You help people feel safe and taken care of. However, when you have like a one size fits all copy and paste, the assumption is from me as a prospect, well, I guess I'm just a copy and paste prospect to you then.
Yeah. So true.
And that does not feel good.
No, it feels icky.
Mm.
Exactly. My next question is kind of based on the challenge that you have, the 7-day challenge, which I know now is a paid sort of course, which I think is incredible. And I loved what you talked about in terms of lead generation for service-based entrepreneurs. So could you share some tips around that? Because we do have quite a few service-based entrepreneurs in this group.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm so happy that you enjoyed the 7-day course. Like,
Yeah.
we ran it as a live challenge back in February, and it's since gone on to become a paid course, like under $100. And yeah, it is packed full of so many goodies. And over 600 people have taken it to date, which is just amazing. And one of the juiciest trainings inside it is this lead generation training. And I think the thing with, oh my gosh, just like
My
pick
dog.
the dog up, please. Like,
Every call with me.
hi. And I think like lead generation is one of those places where people get tripped up a lot, right? Because they have the perception that they have to do what that person was doing on LinkedIn, right? They think lead generation, I think the old school way of looking at lead generation is it's a numbers game. Yeah. Like, have you heard that before? Like,
Yeah, definitely.
and and it sounds like the person who sent you those copy and paste messages is coming from a place of it's a numbers game. And so the first thing before we kind of like get into tactics is to just get rid of that right off the bat. Yeah. And I am just a big fan of like quality relationships over quantity, right? And
yeah.
And you know, it's I don't want to like oversimplify it, but essentially what I ask my clients to do is to make the decision to dedicate 30 minutes a day to doing just that, to building relationships.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, like one of the easiest ways, if you've never generated leads before and you're feeling really intimidated at the thought of like, well, what do I say to people? I always look for, if I'm looking to reach out to some people, let's say I've just joined a new Facebook group and I'm like, I want to make some friends in here. Yeah. First of all, that's a great energy to come in with. If you come in and you're like, I want to make some sales in here, then you might find that people are a little wary of you. And I don't know if that's just an energetic thing or if that like creeps into your language a bit. But coming from a place of, I want to make some friends in here. Who can I help? Who can I serve? Who can I support? And one of the easiest ways that you can do this is just help people with what they're looking for. And 9 times out of 10, that can just be offering to connect them with someone else. And I know that you're good at this, but I love to do it too. And I just want people who are watching this who have never generated leads before to understand that there is huge value in connecting someone with what they're looking for, even if that's not you. In fact, especially when that's not you. Because not only are you showing yourself to be, genuinely, I just want to help you out, but you're also showing yourself to be well connected. Hello, authority and credibility. And you're also positioning yourself in their mind as a resource. Okay. So I'll give you an example. I was doing my 30 minutes a day in a new Facebook group recently, and I ended up connecting with someone on Instagram. A couple of days later, she posted in this Facebook group, hey, I'm looking for a Facebook ad specialist. Does anyone know? And so then I went over to Instagram, I DM'd her, I introduced her to a Facebook ad specialist. 2 days later, she replies, oh, like you gave me such a great reco on, I sent her over to Ashima, actually. I don't know if you know Ashima, but,
no, I
don't. But yeah, and then a couple of days later, she was like, oh, you gave me such a great recommendation. Thank you. Do you know any copywriters? And I was like, actually, I know loads of copywriters because part of my course is that I help train them. And so I sent her like 4 recommendations for copywriters based on what she was looking for. And then guess what? The following week, I received a waitlist application for her for Squirm-Free Sales Masters. Now, I didn't say anything, okay? I didn't say anything. I didn't talk to her about my program. She just kind of went off and was like, oh, who is this person who's helped me so much? And she found her way onto my waitlist and did that of her own accord. And so when you think about lead generation, you're not thinking about how can I get a lead. You are thinking like, how can I help people today? How can I support people today? And the leads will come back to you.
That's amazing advice. Yeah, I've always heard of it as, you need to just keep pumping out messages and try to get as many as you can. But I'm the same way. Like I love authentic relationships, and even this challenge that I just launched around pivoting, majority of the people that signed up are all in my network. They're all warm leads because they're like, we already know you and we trust you, right? So I didn't have to sell it. It's like it's already there. So yeah.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah. And then would you recommend changing the pricing of our offers at this time? I've been getting so many questions. Every time we do a virtual event, someone asks, how should I price myself? So what's your take on that as a sales and copywriting expert? What would you say around pricing?
Here's the thing. When you start cutting your rates, you need to be aware that you are basically giving yourself a pay cut. I know that sounds like stating the obvious, But consider this, if one day I was charging $100 an hour to write blog posts for people, and then the next day I panic because I don't, and I love doing it. I love doing it for $100. I'm so excited to close those clients, right? And I'm really excited to do the work. It's a motivating number for me. It feels good to be paid that. Yeah. I feel like I'm being valued, and it allows me to bring my full expertise and energy and attention to that work for at that price point. Next week I'm panicking because two of my retainer clients have, pulled my contracts, whatever. And so I panic and I slash my rates in half and I go, right, COVID special, $50 an hour for blog posts. How am I going to feel writing those blog posts for half of what I'm worth? Okay. Yeah. And if I'm being really honest with myself, am I going to show up and do my best work for half the money?
No.
And if you think you are, I'm sorry, but you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
And is that fair to the client? Yeah. Honestly, is it fair to them to get your sort of half in, or do they deserve you at your all in? And so the reason I kind of paint this scenario is because we think it's all about us, right? And oh, well, I just want to be paid the best. And actually, when you ask for payment that feels really good to you, everyone wins. Okay. And it's not just you who feels really good about the check that's being written for you, but your clients win too, because you are bringing your A game to that work when you're charging well for it. So I don't believe in slashing your rates. However, I do believe in introducing other options. Yeah. So if you are aware that someone, that folks in your prospect pool, they do want to work with you. However, they simply don't have the budget that allows you to bring your A game, then something that you could consider is introducing a lower ticket offer that allows you to leverage your time in some way. So you still get the same hourly rate, or perhaps even more. However, you're doing that in a leveraged way. So this could look like, rather than writing your blog post for $100 an hour, I could host a half-day blog post writing workshop. I could charge each attendee $100 to attend for 4 hours. Once I've got my first 4 attendees through the door, then hello, I'm getting paid my normal rate. Yeah. And then I could record it and I could sell the recording for $50 all day long.
That's amazing. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So still keeping the same quality, and you get paid what you usually do. It's just that you're offering it in a different way. I really love that. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've talked about as well with the pivoting stuff, is understanding how other industries are changing, and you do need to adapt right now. A lot of us in the service-based industry, especially myself, I've been doing one-on-ones for so long. I've reached a point where I'm I can only do so many one-on-ones that I don't have the time to do them anymore. So now I need to transition it into the course. And yeah, I really like that idea of innovating on it. And my last 2 questions for you are more so to do with the pivoting stuff, because I really was excited to chat about this. So could you share how you transitioned from focusing just on copywriting to sales?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's kind of worth noting that this was very much an organic pivot. I would love to come and tell you that I had this genius master plan. However, I did not. It was more a series of happy accidents. And yeah, my gosh, you're making me think back now. So okay, here's the thing. When you're writing copy, when you're a good copywriter, you should be concerned. It should be part of your concern. I mean, concern is in you need to be aware of. It's important to you rather than you're worried about it. So it's important to you that someone has that your copy is slotting into an overall sales strategy.
Right.
Because I can write you a great email sequence, but if the offer itself sucks and you haven't given and your audience isn't warm, then the best email sequence in the world isn't going to convert the way it could. So as if you're hiring a copywriter at the moment, by the way, you need to ask them these questions. And if they are not asking, in fact, no, they should be asking you these questions. And if they're not, then look for someone else. Let me know and I will refer you. But yeah, so it was kind of very much a natural part of the conversations that I was having with business owners as I was writing this copy. And I kind of noticed that a lot of business owners didn't know. They didn't know, they hadn't thought of it, they didn't really get it. And so without really realizing or cottoning on straight away, I was doing an element of sales strategy consultation with every copywriting client I was doing.
Wow.
And then the way the sort of pivot began was actually through just straight up copy coaching. So this would typically happen where I would finish up a project with someone and then they would want to pick my brain
Yes.
in the follow-up. And so I started charging people just like by the hour. I think the first time I ever charged them for the hour, it was like $89 or something. Like it was like nothing. And
that's better than mine. I was charging like 50. So
when I was first doing freelance copywriting in Toronto, I was charging $30 Canadian an hour.
wow.
Like, and yeah, like it's nuts. Anyway, so I started charging people for the hour to follow up. And I noticed that they were typically asking me the same questions. They wanted to know how they could continue to write copy in the same style as how I'd written their website or their launch campaign, whatever it was. And so I started giving them my tips. And I was like, okay, well, here's how you write copy in an engaging way. I would teach them little tricks and techniques I had, like the 3-to-1 rule, which is about like balancing out your pronouns. I would teach them to use short sentences to increase the pace and energy of their writing. And I would just kind of teach them a few tips. And the reaction I was getting from people in these hour-long sessions was off the chain. They were like, oh my God, like this is so simple, la la la. And I actually had, I started to get people kind of booking them every couple of weeks to help. Like they would just bring a load of stuff that they'd written and we would kind of edit it together. And I really enjoyed that work. I realized that I loved it. I just lit up when I was telling other people like, hey, like you just do this little trick, and to see them light up when they got it, that was awesome. That felt so good to me. And so then in January, so I was doing that from like September through till December of 2018, hosting these 1-hour sessions and really getting an understanding of what kinds of questions people kept asking me, what skills they lacked, what the problems were, why they wanted to learn this stuff. And it was almost like, I kind of made a joke about $89 for that hour of consulting and coaching being low, but really I was getting paid to do my market research at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then from January of 2019, so January of last year, I started selling packages of these spots.
Right.
And that's kind of where, and we were focused on sales strategy and copywriting. And that's where it kind of took off from, really. I started, like, I didn't have time anymore to do done for you copywriting. And I was just teaching people how they could write their own copy and slot it into their sales strategy. And then, again, the more and more I worked with people, I learned that, yeah, copywriting strategy, that was great, but they also needed these like softer sales skills and they needed that confidence. So that's what kind of led to the birth of Squirm-Free Sales Masters, my signature program, because we cover copywriting, sales pages and launches, strategy, sales calls, sales pitches, and then the mindset piece. So there are kind of 6 areas that we cover now. But copywriting is the skill that I bring from my past life as a done-for-you service provider.
Wow, that's incredible. What would you say was the toughest part about making that transition over to focusing more on sales?
Oh my gosh. I think I think I don't know if there's like one toughest part. However, what I have noticed is that every time you reach this point in your business, in the process, where suddenly everything starts to feel sticky, everything starts to feel difficult, you're stressed, you've got too much on your plate, like, just, have you hit that point before where you're
Oh my
like,
God, so
suddenly
many times.
everything's suddenly really hard, like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah,
And when that is happening, it's because you're about to break through to something on the next level.
right.
And I've had a number of those points where I'm like, oh God, like, this is too hard. I don't want to step it up. I don't want to. And that point where you start hitting that resistance, those keep coming, is what I'm learning.
Yeah,
And the types of sticking points that were coming up like a year and a half ago, like in the first half of last year, my sticking point was like, I could get great clients on my calendar, but I wanted to be fully booked, and I
yeah.
just couldn't get it. Oh, it was so hard. And in the first half of 2019, I ended up doing 154 sales calls that did not convert.
Oh my God, wow.
And like, I did like 180 in total, but over 150 of them did not convert. And I had to go through that sticky, difficult, like, it sucks. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I had to go through that so that I could build up the resilience, so that I really knew exactly how to articulate my offer in a way that sold people within minutes. I
Yeah,
had to learn how to break down, like, I had to learn all of those mistakes firsthand so that I could help my clients with them now. Yeah.
yes, so true.
And so, like, whether you're going through a pivot or whether you are just growing your business in one direction, the reality is, like, there are going to come those points where all of a sudden everything you touch feels hard and it feels difficult. And that point there, that is a good sign. Okay. When
Yeah,
it's getting sticky like that, we need to switch from being like, oh, this is hard, I want to give up, to, oh my gosh, I must be so close to this next level. Let's freaking get it.
I love that you're mentioning this because I think I had recently wrote an Instagram post about this, like this up leveling sort of feeling, and I've been feeling the same way, like before quarantine even happened, was just kind of stuck, like, where am I, like, what's the next big thing? And to be honest, quarantine has been kind of a good thing in a way. I mean, of course not the circumstances, but just the fact that I've been really zeroing in, like, on my business and understanding how the strategy can grow and other services that I can offer. So it's really cool to see, like, every 6 months, 9 months in, how you can change and how you can grow. So I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, we have a bunch of comments here. Rebecca says this rates conversation is so on point for products too in general. Cheryl says from Please Notes, Katy is so amazing. Her courses are so vital. Very true. And then I think she was
Aw, Cheryl.
so sweet, yeah. And she was responding to Rebecca saying, plus it hurts your rep and you get less referrals. Oh, I think they were talking about something with the sales that we were chatting about earlier. Yeah, yeah. We talked about so many good things in this conversation, so it's been really good. My last question for you is around the courses and memberships, because I know now you have your Squirm-Free Sales Masters program, and you have other courses and stuff. So do you have any advice for service-based entrepreneurs who are transitioning into starting their own courses or memberships?
Yeah, 100%. Get help.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, get help. You can, like, just because you can do something alone, it doesn't mean that you have to, okay? And if one thing that I, like, have really, really learned, and I thought I learned it before, but I only learned it properly a lot more recently, is that your time and your energy are your most valuable assets as a business owner.
So true.
And if you are fresh out of time and your energy is depleted, then guess what? Like, you ain't breaking through to the next level anytime soon. Okay. And I know what it can feel like to be really reticent to spend money, especially if you're like, well, I can figure this course thing out myself, or I can figure this thing out myself. The cool thing about money is that it's renewable. Okay. Like, you can make more. It's a renewable energy source.
Yeah.
However, your time and the energy it takes to figure everything out alone, and also like silence all the inner critic and deal with all the second guessing that comes with that, that is like, once you've spent that time and that energy, you cannot get it back. Okay. And so, you know, if you are launching a course, a new service, if you want to start a membership or whatever it is that you're excited to do in your business next, the reality is that if you hire help, whether that's through a VA to support you with some of the doing, whether that is through an expert in your industry who can mentor you through the process, whether that's through a course to walk you through step by step that you can do on your own schedule and rewatch as many times as you need. That's what I do with every course I purchase. I'm a slow learner, like, honestly. And yeah, like, if that can help you get the result that you're looking for faster and with less time wasted trying to figure stuff out by yourself, you don't get a badge for figuring everything out yourself. Like, no one's going to knock on the door and be like, hey, we've got your certificate because you figured everything out by yourself. Like, you're not going to receive one. Okay.
Yeah.
The payoff is in the results that you get, aka the sales that you make and the impact that you make. Like, how freaking good does it feel when you have a client message you and go, that training changed my life, or that training helped me get this result, or I've never enjoyed running my business so much. Like, when I get messages like that, I am like, I am so grateful that I invested in getting help so that I can do more of that. So yeah. If you're pivoting in any way and are trying something new, then getting help, it'll also make it a lot more fun.
Yeah, you feel less alone, for sure. Like, I recently joined the Make Lemonade membership, and it's been amazing because not only do I have a community to keep me accountable, but I've also been like throwing my landing page to them, be like, what do you think? What do you want to see more of? And just getting feedback. It feels really good. So I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially right now as well, because I spend most of my time in this little second bedroom of the Airbnb that my husband and I are currently self-isolating in until we can lock down some like permanent accommodation in the UK, because we both kind of just moved back, right? Quite rushed. And, you know, it's just me and him. And sometimes there's a seagull in the back garden. Like, sometimes we see a pigeon out the front. And if you know, if you're spending all of that time by yourself, like, the connection that you can find online is powerful. It is powerful. And on the days where you want to quit, and this is what I love about my Squirm-Free group, they support the heck out of each other. They are so, like, people show up to each other's lives and webinars and are like checking in with each other after their sales calls. We have a wins thread, and everyone is always so there for other people's successes.
Amazing.
And there is no prize for doing it alone. And it is so much more fun and so much more fulfilling to be able to turn around to someone and share your struggles, yes, but also share the wins and share the results with other people.
Completely agree. Yeah. I'm a big believer in community, which is why, you know, I have a meetup group now. And I love that because we all keep connected through our virtual networking, through the like posts in the group. So it feels really good. I agree to have that, especially during something big like a launch. When you're putting together a course, it really helps to have support and people who've been through it. So I agree. And my last question for you is, do you have any offers or anything you're working on that you want to share with everyone watching today?
Oh, that's so generous of you to ask. And yeah, I absolutely do. If you are a service-based business owner and right now you're feeling yourself at one of those sticky points in your business where things feel hard, you know that you are not fulfilling your full potential, you know that you are damn good at what you do, and you deserve to be working with dream clients who pay you what you're worth and who really value the work that you do for them. um, then I would love to extend a hand and offer to support you. And there are a couple of ways to work together, but the best way to get started is through my 7-day sales course.
Yes,
It
I
is
did.
called, yeah, okay, see, Christina knows.
Yeah.
So, 7 Days to Sales Success is a 7-day sales course. It is super easy to get through. You can watch it as many times as you want. 30 minutes a day for 1 week. And during that time, we are not only going to get you set up with a sales strategy, price your offers, crunch your numbers. That's the scary part, but we make it really
I
fun.
loved it. I love the income generator and the calculator. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
I was like, you
And
have all these gaps. You could be making so much more money.
right. And like crunching your numbers and actually like doing that as you're starting your business or as you're growing your business is so, so important.
Yeah.
And, this is no shade at all, but there is a saturation of courses for how to show up on Instagram and, why you should do TikTok and all of this social media stuff. And the reality is that if you don't have the numbers to back it up on the back end, you can do all the TikTok, all the Instagram, all the posting, all the content. But if your numbers don't add up, then guess what? Like, you ain't up leveling. And this 7-day sales course, it takes all of that like fear and anxiety out of it, and it makes it fun to play with your numbers, to get curious, and also gives you plenty of actionables to generate leads and start closing some sales. So
Amazing.
it's super easy to get started. You head to katyprince.com/7 days. So like the number 7 days.
Yeah,
Or you can drop me a DM and I'll get you started there. It's less than $100. It's literally a no-brainer. You get Q&A calls, you get a Facebook community, and over 600 people have gone through the course and got amazing results already. So I would love to see you in there.
yeah, it honestly helped me with my challenge on my upcoming course so much, just laying out the structure, understanding the generating leads, the funnels, all of that stuff. So it was super, super helpful. Yeah.
Yay! Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm glad that it supported you as you were putting this together, because yeah, I'm super excited to see you support people through this challenge.
Yeah, it's been exciting. So again, getting help really important. I had one question from Rebecca who said, "You've mentioned a lot about services. Would you recommend your courses for product-based businesses?"
It depends on your product. I will be very open in that I could not possibly claim to be an expert in selling everything.
Yeah.
And the kind of like mentorship and coaching I do is very much based on my own experience and what's worked for me, either in my job role. So I used to be in events. And yeah, I used to be in hospitality. I grew up in hospitality. And then of course selling services, so like service based and experience based is very much kind of my jam. However, if you sell digital products that are for either a B2B or B2C market actually, then this would definitely be a good fit for you. If you are selling products that come with some kind of education, then this would be a great fit for you. If you are selling anything like custom made or commission based, so commission based jewelry, commission based art, something where service is part of the sales process, then this would definitely help you.
That's really helpful. Yeah. So Rebecca said she's gonna DM you. She did 10 years in hospitality too. So you guys
Cool.
stay connected about. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katy. This has been really, really insightful. You dropped some amazing tips, and I'm sure everyone who's going to watch the replay as well will love this. And I'll be sharing it over on Femoval for that community too. So thank you for taking the time to be here with us all the way from the UK and for sharing your knowledge with us. I'll drop all of your links in the description box so they can get in touch with you, and they can start the 7-day challenge as well if they'd like.
Thank you so much, Christina. This was so much fun, and I will see you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.